Hello and welcome to the Dragons Are Real podcast. My name is Pete Jones. In this episode, I'm going to be covering Mothership by Tuesday Night Games. But before we get onto that, let's see what else is going on in the RPG world. First off, White Lies, which is a Swords and Wizardry white box hack on spy-based games, has now been made free by DWD Studios. If you like white box, your nice simple D&D from 6 characteristics, roll d20, d6 damage, that sort of malarkey, then White Lies is now free. Besides that, you can also get it very cheap in print format as well. The softback is £3.79, which is about $5.20. Which is a great print-on-demand book if you like that sort of thing. But if you like Swords and Wizardry, and you like white box, and you like spy games, then nothing to lose. Check out White Lies. It's worth every penny of your 0 pennies. And if you really like it, then you can get the print version as well. Zine Quest 3 is just around the corner. That launches in February. This is the 3rd Zine Quest done by Kickstarter. If you don't know what Zine Quest is, it's basically, well, it's supposed to be hobby zines like you used to get in these sort of late 70s, early 80s when the underground zine culture was really big. Certainly the punk culture really pushed zines forward and people were making zines in their little back gardens, in their sheds, in their bedrooms. I mean, in those days, there was no computers, obviously. People were either typing them out on typewriters, hand drawing them and photocopying them on the dad's photocopier in work. There was no sort of big printing presses like there was now. Well, so Zine Quest, as I said, it's the 3rd version of Zine Quest. So to enter Zine Quest, you have to follow the rules. And when I say rules, as they say in Pirates of the Caribbean, well, these rules are more guidelines than they are actually rules. Because Kickstarter doesn't seem to give a monkeys if you break the rules, and several companies have broken them. It's a 2-week project. You can use one colour besides the normal black and white for a zine. It's got to be A5 or smaller, and it should be folded, saddle stitched or stapled. But then when you see some of the other zines that have come out over the past, they have broken several of these rules, and Kickstarter don't seem to care. But on saying that, they're getting 10% kickback from every Kickstarter that funds, so why should they care? It's certainly gaining interest, and I backed a few zines last time. One still hasn't delivered yet. Come on, Dave Aldridge, where is Mud Harbour? We still haven't received it yet. You've been dormant, so come on, get your backside into gear. But all the others, I've had some really good zines out of there. One of which I backed was Mothership, and I'm going to be talking about that later in this episode. Another big sort of crazy zine cult at the moment is Mortborg. And as you know, I did a Mortborg review back in episode 47, and I wasn't a fan of Mortborg. For me, Mortborg is more design over substance. Yeah, it's doom metal inspired. The rules are very rules light. It's an average game, and I've got nothing against that. But for me, the art really didn't do it for me. It was too jarring, 100 different fonts, every page different. I just can't read it. But to the majority of people, that seems to be their itch, and there are lots of other products coming out now based on Mortborg. So best of luck to them. Another non-related news. There was a good episode put out by the Gauntlet RPG podcast on how to make a podcast and go around processing it, or their process to put the audio podcast together, which is good, Ed. If you're thinking of doing a podcast, or if you actually do one at the moment and you're not into the Anchor Guerrilla podcasting where you don't give a monkeys whether your audio is bad, if the dogs are barking in the background, if it's amateur, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You know, there are some really good podcasts out there that just record straight, upload to Anchor, and have got good content. But if you want to put a bit more pizzazz into it, then they give some tips about how to use your microphones. If you're doing multiple presenters, how to have each of the presenters recording their own Audacity file as well as recording via Discord or Zoom. That way you've got the raw files to edit. And if anything goes wrong, you've got the backup of your Zoom or Discord call as well. How to do noise reduction, how to edit it. Some really good tips on there, and a good filter as well, dynamic filter. Chris's dynamic compression 1.2.6, I think it is, they recommend for running on your audio, which really helps. So yeah, check that podcast out. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Right, we've got a call in, so let's head over to my calling.
Hey there, Pete. It's John here from the Red Dice Diaries. Just been listening to your episode on Maze Rat, and once my blood pressure had calmed down after the mention of landscape format books, obviously I'm only kidding, but that did make me laugh. I went and had a look at Maze Rats, and so I remembered getting a PDF version of it a while back, and the version I've got is actually a booklet. So, yeah, it looks like a landscape, but if you print it off, it'd be folded up into a booklet, and it'd be nice and sort of portrait orientation. Whew, sanity prevails. Anyway, dude, thought I'd just leave you a message to say I really enjoyed the episode. I'm going to crack on and listen to your Knave one now. So take care, and I'll catch you soon.
So that was John Allen Large from the Red Dice Diaries and my old mucker from the now defunct Purple Worm podcast. So I know John has a bit of an issue with landscape books, and I can quite understand really, because although they might sit nicely on the table for when you're gaming, they just don't sit well on your bookshelf at all. Maze Rats is a great little game, as I said in that podcast, and check out Knave as well. So thanks for that call in, John. I think it's time for the main subject. As I said today, we're going to be talking about Mothership by Tuesday Night Games. I backed one of their Kickstarters back in June of 2019 for the Pound of Flesh module. And as part of that module, for 45 quid, you could get a previous core rules, another module called Dead Planet in both print and PDF format. I jumped at that chance. Let's have a look at the old book. As I said, it's an A5 booklet, 44 pages, very nice design. It's sci-fi horror RPG, and that's proudly displayed on the front. Think of the first Alien film, any horror films with derelict spacecraft, abandoned space stations, you get the drift. And what is really good about this book is the design. Unlike Mortborg, which is all design, then this has got good design and good content. It uses flowcharts in a very ingenious way, both on the character sheet and the player's guide. The core mechanic is D10s, and D10s are used in 3 different ways. The main way they're used is as D100s, and basically you're rolling a D100 under your stats to succeed. They've got an advantage and a disadvantage mechanic, which is roll 2 D100s or roll a D100 twice. Don't really like it for 2 dice. When you're rolling just 2 D20s and you're taking the best one, okay, but rolling 4 D100s or 2 D100s, yeah, because it's 4 dice, so it doesn't quite sit right with me about that one. But anyway, that's a minor gripe. Any double you get on the D100 is either a critical success or a failure, depending on whether you succeed or fail on your roll. And if you're doing an opposed checks, you both roll against your attributes, and then whoever gets the highest result and succeeds against their stat is the winner. D10s can also be used in 2 other ways. They can be 2d10 added together, or they can be a number of d10s added together and multiplied by 10. So those are the ways that they use d10 in the game. Now we get on to character creation, and character creation is a thing of beauty in this game. It really is. It's baked into the character sheet, and the way that you build characters, a bit like the pleasure of building character in the old Traveller. That was fun because it was so different. Well, this is a similar sort of way. And on your character sheet, it's got these steps, so let's go through them. There are 4 attributes: strength, speed, intellect and combat. And basically you roll 6d10 for each of those, giving you your starting stats. Then you choose one of 4 classes. The 4 classes are Teamster, so think of the workers and mechanics in the Alien film, your scientists, androids, and marines. And each one of these, depending on the class, alters these stats slightly. So for example, a Teamster will add +5 to both strength and speed. So each one of these is a slight tweak on your starting stats. Each of them has a different save depending on the class, and the 4 types of saves you can make are sanity, fear, body and armor. And again, you're rolling under the stat. Once we've done part 2, we move on to part 3, which is mark your starting skills and spend your skills points. Skills in this, there are a number of skills, and skills are either untrained, trained gives you plus 10%, expert gives you plus 15%, and master gives you plus 20%, and they're on a skill tree. So for example, androids start with linguistics, computers and mathematics. And then each of the classes gives you a number of points to spend between 2 and 4 on boosting up your skills. And as I say, you have to follow your skill path. So for piloting, if you've got it in trained, then from there you can either go to expert astrogation or expert asteroid mining. And then from there onwards, the only upgrade again is from astrogation to hyperspace. So it's quite a nice little system for skills, and it's simple because it's just adding a percentage to your base stat level. That's part 3. Then we move on to part 4. You take note of how your class deals with stress and panic. And stress and panic in a horror game are quite important concepts, which I will touch on a bit later. And each of the 4 classes deals with stress and panic in a slightly different way. So if I take the Marine, whenever a Marine panics, every friendly player nearby must make a fear save. So basically you're putting a tick box in one of how your class deals with stress and panic. And finally we move on to the loadout. You've got a choice of 4 loadouts. You pick one of those and it gives you your weapons, any kit. Then you also roll for a random trinket and a random patch. Now these trinkets and patches don't do anything mechanically to the game, but they give a nice flavour. For example, you might have a Grim Reaper patch, or you've got a diamond with girl's best friend on it. So just a nice little flavourful thing which they've added there. And you finish off by rolling 5d10, multiplying by 10, and that is your starting credits. The character process is very nice. Stress and panic. So basically, stress and panic are 2 core elements of the horror game. You gain stress any time your ship you're in gets hit. You are near a scientist and they fail a sanity save, because if the scientists are panicking, then you're going to panic too. You get knocked unconscious, you fail a save, go 24 hours without rest, or go without food or water. That is how you gain stress. Now, stress increases throughout the game, and there are ways to reduce your stress back down again. But the higher your stress is, then when you make a panic check, it's going to be harder. And basically, to do a panic check, you roll 2d10, and if you roll over your current stress, you don't panic and you relieve 1 stress. If you roll equal to or lower than your current stress, you panic and you then have to roll for a panic effect. The results go from things like gain extra stress, you're anxious, to instant death from a heart attack by rolling 30. So yeah, you've got to try and keep your stress down. Resolve is the other core item that is measured, and it's your ability to ignore or cope with your accumulated stress. So every point of resolve you have provides -1 to all rolls on the panic table. If your resolve ever brings your panic effect total to 1 or less, there is no effect and you do not panic. And there's nice tables in there for weapons, your normal sort of weapons. Basically, weapons do a number of d10 in damage, which comes off your health. You've got some armor in there. You've got your normal sort of equipment with costs, and everything is kept nice and simple. And they've gone for the old double page spread, so everything is on a double page, so you don't have to flip over to another page. If you're looking for stress and panic, it's on a double page spread, which I really like. There are rules for space travel and hyperspace, some how to build spaceships, and an example of there's also a flow chart for how to build your spaceship as well, which is all very nice. Right, now let's go on to the modules. I've currently got 2 in print, and I've got some others in PDF, A Pound of Flesh and Dead Planet. And this is what has really sort of sold the Mothership system. Again, the A5 format, beautifully printed out. The Pound of Flesh one is pink blank black and white, and the dead planet is red, black and white. So it's really conforming to the Zine Quest guidelines, and they make a nice use of tables. There's a great way to design a derelict ship with a D6. They're just really well written, and even if you're not using them for Mothership, they are worth getting for converting to any other system, because it's a pleasure to run these for the GM. It explains what's going on, maps, hints. Yeah, I can't recommend them enough. My final thoughts of, if you like a zine type game, then look into Mothership. Besides having a lovely layout, there's plenty of meat on the bone there. Take note, Morbug. And it's very thematic. And the price is very good. And I will leave a link in the show notes where you can pick Mothership up from. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do a bit more editing on the YouTube version, so I'll put some slides up there if you want to have a look at the Mothership book. Then feel free to check out on YouTube. It's the same audio as me droning on, but you get some beautiful, beautiful pictures of what you're looking at. Don't forget, check out the website at petejones.newcities.org. Where I've got links to all my social media and all the links to all the episodes. The blog is at dragonsarealpodcast.tumblr.com, so check that one out. If you want to get in contact, you can do that via the Anchor app of voicemail. Just find the link in the notes here and go to Anchor and you can leave me a voicemail. Don't like speaking, then email me. The email address is dragonsarealpodcast@pm.me. And also there's the YouTube channels I mentioned, and we're on Facebook and Twitter as well. Yes, we're in your consciousness everywhere. So that's all for this episode, and I'll see you all on the flip side.